Okay guys, after watching videos and being an avid record collector for probably 30 some odd years, I decided to make a video of the best pressings of Kinda Blue. I know a lot of people out there have made their videos, but one thing that I noticed missing in those videos was my favorite pressing. So we're going to go over the pressings that I've had. I've had the Japanese pressings, I've had UK pressings, German pressings, and those ones have not impressed me. I'm going to go over the ones that I have and that kind of do impress me, and some of the ones that I think you should avoid, even though other people think that you should go out and spend your hard-earned money. I tend to disagree. This is the new uhqr. Now, this was left over from the metalwork they had from the classic records, from when they cut it back in the 90s and early 2000s. Now this comes in wonderful packing, you know what I mean, beautiful vinyl, quiet. I've had problems with clarity vinyl in the past, but this one is dead quiet. The mastering on this one, I would say, ears on the classic dead to lifeless sound that a lot of audiophiles love. Me, personally, I'm not a fan of that, especially when I'm listening to jazz, because I want to hear the liveliness. I want to hear the record breathe. This one, although it's on quiet vinyl, and I think Analog Productions has done some good stuff and they've done some bad stuff, this, I'd rate it about a B-. So, and plus it's at about 200 now. If you guys want this one, I would say save your money, because you can do a lot better. The next one is the Mobile Fidelity 2015 cut at 45 RPM by Krieg Wunderlich. Now 45, it should sound better, right? But for me, the classic mofi sound, bloated bass, dead and lifeless and flat as a pancake. Me, it is a shame that they would, put this out. I've heard some excuses that, they didn't have access to the best of master tapes, they didn't have access to this, and they did the best with what they had. And now we find out that mofi is cutting from digital files. Good for you guys. No wonder it sounded like crap. This is another one to avoid, because now they're at about $100. So, avoid. Here's where I might lose some of you guys, but I don't care. I'm trying to tell you the best sounding copies of Kinda Blue, and I want you to get most bang for your buck out there. I'm here to spit the truth. I'm not here to sell BS. Now this is the 70s, early 80s, Red Label Columbia pressings. Guys, in my experience, the best sound is found on the 70s pressings. Now, I don't know if other people have noticed it in this audiophile market. I'm sure that somebody knows about these, and the secret is out about these, because these sound fabulous. This is a nice price one. I can't show you what it looks like because it's a sealed copy, and I have tons of these. But they all sound fabulous. This is another variation of the 70s pressings. They're called the paste overs. Now, what I mean by paste over is, a lot of times before, when the original Columbias came out, they'd say CL135 for mono or CS8163 for stereo. Now, they use the paste over to switch from CS to PC. So under this, if you rip off this little paste over thing, I'll show you right there, that says PC. Now, underneath that, it would say CS8163. That will tell you that this is early 70s pressing. Now, these, like I said, 70s pressings, in my experience, have all sounded fabulous. They're great. They they breathe. I mean, like, I know that's kind of weird that you can say that a record breathes, but the new pressings, they just don't breathe like this. I mean, you drop the needle on this and you boys will know what I'm talking about. 70s pressings, love them, love them. This is the CL 1355 6i mono. Now, these were cut from the original tape, I believe, when the album first came out in '59. These sound fabulous. But for some of you stereo guys, you may not like the mono sound. To me, this is one of the best mono records I've had, because normally I do not like mono sound either. But in this case, this is one of the better copies of Kinda Blue. But the problem is, from good plus condition, you're looking at probably about $100. From near mint condition, you're looking at about 500. You may be able to cop a VG regular for 200. Some VG plus that aren't really VG plus for 300, and you'll end up being upset, but they're expensive, but they sound wonderful. 6i mono. This is the current one that's available, I think, for $20. It's the Kevin Gray cut that has this, you know, black and silver label right here. This one, I think, was cut from High Res Digital by Kevin Gray. Now, it's got quiet vinyl. It's clean. But the problem is, every single copy that I have bought has pressing variations in it. I don't know whether it's no-fill or other things, but they've had pressing defects on a lot of the copies. In the same spots as certain songs, you will hear it. So I cannot recommend this pressing, even though some like it. It's also known as the Sony Legacy. This is the mono edition by Doll Records, a public domain record. Comes in blue vinyl. But for me, this is another one I cannot recommend. I actually picked this up for $5 at Zia in Las Vegas. It's got quiet vinyl. The sound is not too bad for a digital pressing, but I tend to avoid digital pressings if there's an analog master available. And there are. This is the current mono one that was pressed by Ryan K. Smith. Now, the source, I'm unsure of. I have heard some people say it was cut from quarter-inch analog tape. I've heard some say that it was cut from digital files. I don't care. If you're a mono fan, this one sounds fabulous. And Ryan K. Smith is one of my favorite mastering engineers. I usually like the work he does. But for $25, I think you can still get this out there. It's a decent sounding if you're looking for a mono copy. Get these while you can. They'll go out of print. These probably will be worth money. Also, there are some other 2Is that I've heard that aren't bad. They're nice. But for me, to break it down, you guys want to go for 70s red level and the original pressings if you want the best sound. Stay away from the classic records, the mobile fidelity, audiophile treatment, because none of those guys have been able to capture the true Kinda Blue sound. Now, there sure are some others, like the Absolute Analog one that came out in 2000 and the Nimbus Supercut. I cannot speak on those because I haven't heard the Absolute Analog, and I don't have the dough for the Nimbus Supercut. But to break it down, you want to go after the 70s presses and the originals for the best sound. Thank you, guys.